The luminescence of the grand convocation chamber of the Zalosian hegemony pulsed with a rhythm as ancient and immutable as the star charts woven into the colossal obsidian floor, each crystalline spire reaching towards the distant, unfathomable ceiling like petrified echoes of a bygone cosmic forest, their facets catching and refracting the somber, emerald light that bathed the gathered delegates in an ethereal, unsettling glow. Silence, thick and heavy like the interstellar void itself, clung to the air, broken only by the almost imperceptible hum of the environmental regulators and the occasional, deeply resonant thrum of a delegate shifting their ponderous form upon a sculpted graviton throne, their many ocular stalks swiveling with an intensity that spoke of profound unease. At the zenith of the vast, circular chamber upon a tiered dais of polished viridium stood the hegemon Prime Xyler 7, his 6 chitinous limbs resting with uncharacteristic stillness upon the control nexus, his primary ocular cluster, a complex array of light-sensitive organs, fixed upon the holographic projection that shimmered in the chamber's center. A fragmented, chaotic swirl of energy signatures, conflicting data streams, and utterly incomprehensible linguistic constructs, all emanating from the unmapped, volatile region designated as the Sol Collective. The very designation felt alien, raw, a discordant note in the symphony of the known cosmos. "The enigma persists," Hegemon Prime Xyler 7 finally intoned, his voice a low, guttural vibration that seemed to emanate from the very depths of the chamber, carrying with it the weight of eons of Zalosian dominance, yet now laced with a tremor that was unsettlingly novel. Despite the exhaustive efforts of the prognosticator guilds, the Chronos Weavers, and the deep space probes dispatched beyond the veiled nebula, the data remains, to use their crude Terran descriptor, unfathomable. A collective shudder, a subtle ripple through the assembled species, attested to the discomfort the Hegemon Prime's admission brought. The Zalosian hegemony, a federation of advanced civilizations spanning across this arm of the galaxy, thrived on predictability, on the meticulous categorization and assimilation of all known variables, and humanity, the Sol Collective, represented an anomaly of such profound magnitude that it threatened to unravel the very fabric of their carefully constructed reality. They understood the physics of warp drives, the intricacies of stellar cartography, the nuances of socioeconomic models for countless species. But humanity defied every established principle of observed sentience. Prognosticator Guild Master Cathar, a being of shimmering, iridescent scales and a network of neural tendrils that constantly writhed with the processing of countless data streams, extended a single limb towards the central hologram, his voice, a series of precise clicks and whistles, echoing with a desperate urgency. Hegemon Prime, the projections remain stark. All algorithmic models, without exception, indicate a probability quotient of 98% for catastrophic conflict should direct engagement be initiated. Their expansion vector, while seemingly erratic and lacking coherent strategic intent by our established parameters, suggests an inherent drive towards territorial acquisition. Yet, their technological profile, it oscillates. One moment, primitive fission signatures, the next, energy yields defying our current understanding of particle manipulation. Their communication protocols are a cacophony of emotional variants, logical contradictions, and philosophical abstractions that defy direct translation into any known hegemony dialect. They speak of freedom and self-determination with a fervor that borders on the pathological, yet their internal conflict history is replete with acts of extreme violence against their own kind. They are, quite simply, illogical. A delegate from the Ethelian Concordance, a species of luminous, ethereal beings whose forms drifted gracefully above their pedestals, their voices like chimes in the void, offered a more philosophical lament. Logic Master Cathar is but one lens through which to perceive reality. Perhaps their illogic is merely a manifestation of an alternate, as yet uncatalogued, form of sentience. Our attempts to categorize them by our own metrics have consistently failed. They are not like the belligerent Gorax, whose every action is driven by resource consumption. They are not like the ritualistic Zygoth, whose societal structure is dictated by ancient prophecies. They are a void, a chaotic void into which our most advanced conceptual frameworks dissolve into nothingness. A wave of murmurs, a sound akin to distant thunder, swept through the chamber, many delegates extending their sensory organs in agreement. The Ethelians, known for their deep understanding of sapient psychologies, rarely offered such an ad. Mission of intellectual defeat. A void, perhaps, interjected Senator Villalobos of the Gthar Mandate, his vocalization a low, rumbling growl, or perhaps a veiled predator. We have observed their rapid technological acceleration, their uncanny ability to adapt and overcome environmental adversities, to synthesize solutions from disparate, seemingly unrelated fields of study. Their cultural exchange probes, which we initially dismissed as crude attempts at establishing contact, are now suspected by some analysts within the Strategic Command to be highly sophisticated, disguised reconnaissance vessels, gathering intelligence with an efficiency that rivals our own deep penetration espionage units. Villalobos paused, his single, multifaceted eye sweeping across the chamber, fixing momentarily on the Hegemon Prime. And then there is the incident at the Cygnus Rift. The destruction of the rogue K-Theron splinter fleet. Our sensor logs indicate that a single, unidentified human vessel engaged and neutralized the entire pirate armada, a force that had proven capable of evading our own patrols for cycles. The energy signatures, the weapon discharges, they were anomalous, uncategorized, and the human vessel, despite sustaining damage, retreated without ever engaging our own monitoring stations. What does this suggest, Hegemon Prime? That they possess technology so advanced they fear no reprisal, or a strategic discipline so absolute they will not waste resources on a perceived non-threat. The Hegemon Prime's ocular cluster narrowed, a barely perceptible flicker of concern crossing his usually impassive countenance. The Cygnus Rift incident had been particularly disturbing. The K-Theron splinter fleet, while small by hegemony standards, was notoriously elusive and fiercely aggressive, capable of inflicting disproportionate damage on supply convoys and even smaller patrol cruisers. The idea that a single, human-crewed vessel could dismantle such a threat and then vanish without a trace had been relegated to the realm of improbable statistical outliers by the prognosticator guilds, dismissed as sensor ghosting or an unlikely confluence of fortunate events. Yet, the seed of doubt had been planted. Their internal political structures are equally perplexing, observed an ambassador from the technocracy of Tsar, a species that communicated through intricate patterns of light and sound emitted from their bioluminescent exoskeletons. They possess a myriad of governance models, ranging from what they term democracies, where individual votes determine leadership, to autocracies, where power is concentrated in a single entity. Yet across all these disparate systems, a peculiar consistency emerges. Their unwavering, almost fanatical belief in their own self-worth, their right to exist, and their capacity to overcome any obstacle. They have chronicled countless historical conflicts where they faced extinction only to emerge, often from the ashes, with renewed resolve. This resilience, as they call it, is not rooted in superior technology or physical prowess, but in an intangible psychological construct that defies our attempts at replication or even accurate modeling. It is an emotional weapon, Hegemon Prime, and an unpredictable one. The gravity in the chamber deepened, the emerald light seeming to dim further. The delegates, representatives of civilizations that had achieved interstellar travel over many millennia, had long since purged their societies of what they considered primitive emotional variability. Their decisions were based on logic, on empirical data, on the cold calculus of resource allocation and strategic advantage. The concept of an emotional weapon was not only alien, but deeply unsettling. It implied an irrationality, a volatility that could not be contained by conventional defenses or understood through predictable patterns. Hegemon Prime Xyler 7 finally spoke again, his voice now imbued with a chilling finality. The Sol Collective cannot be ignored. Their expansion vector, while seemingly without intent, continues. Their probes continue to penetrate our defensive perimeters. Their signals, while chaotic, continue to emanate from their home system. We have exhausted all diplomatic overtures, all attempts at establishing common ground. Their responses are always nuanced. Never a direct refusal, never a direct acceptance. Always a need for further deliberation, a call for greater understanding, a desire for peaceful coexistence couched in terms that, when parsed, offer no concrete commitments. This ambiguity, this constant state of potential, is more dangerous than open hostility. It breeds uncertainty, it erodes trust, it paralyses decisive action. A new hologram flared into existence beside the chaotic swirl of human data, depicting a stylized map of the local galactic arm. A steadily expanding reddish-purple cloud represented the Sol Collective's sphere of influence, slowly inexorably creeping towards the verdant green expanse of the hegemony's outer territories. It was not an aggressive expansion by conventional military means. Rather, it was the persistent, almost passive colonization of uninhabited star systems, the establishment of research outposts, and the quiet, relentless spread of their enigmatic presence. They were not conquering, they were simply existing, and in doing so, they were encroaching. "Our strategic command recommends a preemptive containment strategy," declared Commander Vorel, his voice a series of sharp, resonant clicks, his form, encased in combat-hardened durasteel, exuding an aura of unyielding military resolve. "A measured, tactical projection of force to establish a definitive exclusion zone around the Sol Collective's current sphere of influence. This would involve the deployment of a significant deterrent fleet, capable of neutralizing any unauthorized incursions, and the establishment of fortified sensor arrays at all key jump points. This is not an act of war, Hegemon Prime, but an act of self-preservation. A clear delineation of boundaries, enforced with overwhelming power, is the only language this unpredictable species might comprehend." A low murmur rippled through the chamber, many delegates nodding their agreement. The idea of a preemptive containment, while ethically challenging for some of the more pacifistic species, felt like a necessary evil. The uncertainty surrounding humanity was a corrosive force, slowly eating away at the hegemony's sense of security and stability. To act, even if forcefully, was preferable to continued paralysis. However, the Ethelian ambassador drifted forward, its luminous form pulsing with an accelerated rhythm. And what if this containment is precisely the catalyst they require? What if their illogic dictates that a perceived threat to their freedom is met with a response disproportionate to our calculated projections? We have seen, in their historical archives, instances where minor provocations escalated into global catastrophes. Their capacity for self-destruction is as profound as their capacity for innovation. Do we truly wish to test the limits of such a volatile entity? What if their resilience is not merely psychological, but rooted in some as yet undiscovered technological advantage that they have thus far chosen to conceal? The ambassador's voice, usually melodic, now carried an unsettling, dissonant hum. "Concealment implies intent," retorted Commander Vorel, his metallic plating clinking softly as he shifted his stance. "Intent implies calculation, and calculation implies a predictable adversary. If they possess such capabilities, why not reveal them? Why maintain this facade of technological disparity? It defies rational strategic doctrine." "Perhaps their rationality is simply different from our own," offered Prognosticator Guild Master Cathar, his tendrils twitching with renewed vigor. "Perhaps their intent is not to dominate, but to survive, to exist regardless of the cost. And perhaps in their strange, emotionally driven calculus, revealing their full strength prematurely is deemed inefficient, a waste of resources, or a breach of some internal ethical code we cannot comprehend. Their historical records speak of concepts like honor and fairness in conflict, even as they unleash devastating weaponry upon one another. It is a paradox we have yet to resolve." Hegemon Prime Xyler 7 raised a limb, and silence immediately fell, heavy once more. His primary ocular cluster scanned the faces, or what passed for faces, of the gathered delegates. "The Council has debated this for 67 cycles of the home world. The data remains inconclusive. The fear, however, remains absolute. We cannot allow this enigma to threaten the stability of the hegemony. We cannot risk the lives of our citizens, nor the continuity of our civilizations, on the uncertain gamble of human unpredictability. We must act." A single, unified hum of agreement resonated through the chamber. The decision, though unspoken, was clear: containment. But as the Hegemon Prime turned to issue the formal decree, a shrill, piercing alarm cut through the air, emanating from the central holographic projection. The chaotic swirl of human data suddenly coalesced, resolving into a single, stark image: a human vessel. Not a probe, not a scout, but a warship. It was unlike any design the hegemony had catalogued, sleek and angular, devoid of visible weapon ports. Its hull an impossible obsidian black that seemed to absorb the light around it. It was small by hegemony standards, incredibly small, and it was positioned with absolute precision directly within the established, though as yet unenforced, exclusion zone, precisely at the most vulnerable jump point leading directly into the heart of the hegemony's core systems. It had not violated the zone, it had materialized within it. The silence that followed was not mere. Lie heavy, it was absolute, suffocating. Every delegate, every strategist, every prognosticator, every optical cluster, every sensory organ in the chamber was fixed upon the image of that solitary human ship, an intruder in the sacred spaces of the hegemony. The alarm, still blaring its urgent warning, seemed to mock their meticulous planning, their careful debate, their overwhelming power. This was not an incursion. This was a statement. A singular, audacious act of defiance that cut through all their complex calculations and left them with a raw, primal fear. The Hegemon Prime's graviton throne thrummed beneath him, not from his own shifting, but from the sudden, profound tremor that passed through the very foundations of the hegemony's confidence. Commander Vorel was the first to break the agonizing silence, his voice tight with suppressed rage and disbelief. Impossible. Our long-range sensors detect no warp signature, no jump point activation. It simply appeared. How could a vessel bypass our entire deep space early warning network? What kind of stealth technology could achieve such a feat? Prognosticator Guild Master Cathar's tendrils were now a frenetic blur, processing torrents of new data. The energy signature is unique. It does not conform to any known propulsion system. It is simultaneously minuscule and colossal, a paradox. It registered not as a vessel entering our space, but as a localized space-time distortion, then immediately resolved into a stable form. We have no prior record of such a projection methodology. Hegemon Prime Xyler 7 stood, his 6 limbs now fully extended, his form casting a long, skeletal shadow across the Viridium dais. Establish immediate, secure, long-range communication, demand an explanation, and prepare a full-spectrum defensive response. Initiate primary energy shields across the entire jump point network. Mobilize the Third Fleet. We will not be provoked, but neither will we tolerate such an egregious violation of our sovereign space. This is a direct challenge. The image of the human vessel pulsed on the central display, seemingly serene in its audacious position, an unblinking eye staring back at the gathered might of the hegemony. Then, a new energy signature flared from its hull, not a weapon discharge, but a focused, highly complex communication burst. The holographic projection shifted, displaying a human face. It was calm, unreadable, lacking the emotional volatility the hegemony's probes had often detected. A single, distinct voice, crisp and clear, filled the chamber, translated instantaneously into every hegemony dialect. Greetings, this is Captain Eva Rostova of the Sol Collective Starship Endurance. We apologize for the unscheduled arrival. Our navigation systems registered an imminent, large-scale fleet mobilization within the region, and our protocols dictate a proactive, non-aggressive intercept to prevent potential misinterpretations. We detected what appeared to be the initial stages of a containment strategy targeting our home system. We are here to clarify our intentions and prevent any unnecessary escalation. We come in peace, but we are also prepared to defend our right to exist. The declaration hung in the air, a stark, profound challenge. The claim of non-aggressive intercept for an unscheduled, stealth-like materialization directly within their exclusion zone, right at a critical choke point, was an almost laughable pretense, yet the calm, unwavering tone of the human captain lent it an unsettling weight. The implication was clear. They had seen the hegemony's preparations, knew their intent, and had chosen to meet it not with a fleet, but with a single ship, a solitary sentinel. It was an act of profound confidence, or perhaps an unhinged delusion. Commander Vorel bristled, his weapon appendages twitching with indignation. They claim non-aggressive. They have violated our deepest defense protocols, materialized within our sovereign space with technology unknown to us, and now have the audacity to claim they are preventing misinterpretations by intercepting our defensive fleet movements. This is an act of blatant espionage, a reconnaissance in force, Hegemon Prime. It is a declaration of hostile intent. Their declaration, Commander, Hegemon Prime Xyler 7 countered, his voice steady despite the internal turmoil, was a statement of intent to clarify and defend. Their arrival, while audacious, has not involved a single weapon discharge. Their vessel remains uncloaked, its shields at minimal standby, indicating no immediate offensive posture. This presents an opportunity for direct dialogue, albeit one fraught with peril. It also confirms their technological prowess in a way our probes could not. This unscheduled arrival was undoubtedly a demonstration, a message. We must understand that message before we respond with force. The Hegemon Prime initiated a direct communication channel with the Endurance, the human captain. His image sharpened on the display, her expression unwavering. Captain Rostova, Hegemon Prime Xyler 7 began, his voice projected with the full authority of the hegemony. Your unscheduled arrival, your deployment of what appears to be advanced stealth and displacement technology, and your positioning at a critical jump point within our sovereign space are profound violations of all interstellar protocols. Your claims of non-aggressive intent are difficult to reconcile with these actions. Explain yourselves, or face the full retaliatory might of the Zalosian hegemony. Captain Rostova's gaze remained steady, betraying no fear, no hesitation. Hegemon Prime, our apologies for the disruption. The Zalosian hegemony has been assembling a significant fleet formation, clearly arrayed for strategic containment of the Sol Collective. Our intelligence suggested an imminent deployment. Our internal protocols dictate that an open, albeit dramatic, demonstration of our capacity to bypass conventional defenses is preferable to allowing an unprovoked escalation to occur. We are not here to provoke conflict, but to prevent it. We understand your concerns regarding our stealth capabilities. This vessel, the Endurance, is equipped with a localized space-time manipulation drive, allowing for precise, rapid transit without conventional warp signatures. It is not designed for aggression, but for rapid deployment and strategic observation. Our shields are currently at minimal, as is our weapon readiness. We are not preparing for battle, Hegemon Prime. We are here to talk. To talk, Commander Voral scoffed, his voice a low growl. After such a blatant display of your capacity to circumvent our defenses, this is not dialogue, Captain, this is intimidation. You wish to talk while holding a blade to our throat. Captain Rostova's expression softened almost imperceptibly, a subtle shift in the lines around her eyes, a phenomenon that the Zalosian cultural databases attributed to a human display of empathy or understanding. Commander, the alternative would have been to allow your fleet to establish its containment, only for us to then challenge it. That path, in our estimations, carries a far higher probability of actual conflict. We chose the path of direct, undeniable presence to demonstrate that such containment is, for us, non-viable rather than allowing your forces to expend resources on a strategy that cannot succeed. It is an act of efficiency, a demonstration of capacity, and ultimately an attempt to bypass the very escalation you fear. We offer this demonstration as proof that our right to exist, uncontained, is not a demand, but a fundamental reality of our technological development. To attempt to restrict us will only lead to unnecessary conflict. Our ship, Hegemon Prime, is enough to bypass any containment you might devise. The declaration, delivered with such calm conviction, echoed through the chamber, chilling many of the delegates to their core. Our ship is enough. It was a simple statement, yet its implications were profound. It suggested not merely advanced technology, but a fundamental shift in the strategic paradigm, a challenge to the very concept of overwhelming force that formed the bedrock of hegemony security. The idea that a single vessel could render an entire fleet-based containment strategy obsolete was almost unfathomable. Hegemon Prime Xyler 7 processed the words, his advanced neural network sifting through the layers of human psychology, intent, and technological boast. A demonstration, you say? A demonstration of what precisely, Captain Rostova? That you can penetrate our defenses at will, that you possess weaponry capable of dismantling our fleets. Your vessel, while intriguing, appears lightly armed by our observations. You claim it is enough, yet offer no proof beyond its inexplicable arrival. Captain Rostova's gaze did not waver. Hegemon Prime, the proof lies in the fact that we are here, unharmed within your most sensitive defensive zone, without firing a single shot. We understand the Zalosian hegemony values efficiency and predictability. We are offering you a clear, unambiguous data point. Attempting to militarily contain the Sol Collective is an inefficient use of your resources. Our vessels, even singular ones like the Endurance, possess a combination of defensive resilience, adaptability, and strategic mobility that renders conventional fleet-based containment irrelevant. We prefer peaceful coexistence and free transit, and we believe that the only way to achieve this, given the current tension, is to demonstrate that any alternative is strategically unviable for both sides. We have no desire to conquer, no interest in your territories beyond safe passage. We simply desire to be. The philosophical depth of her statement, delivered with such pragmatic directness, was jarring. It was not a threat nor a plea, but a statement of an unalterable reality presented with an unsettling calm. The Hegemon Prime turned from the hologram, addressing his council. They claim their individual vessels are sufficient to negate our containment. If this is true, then any military action becomes not only futile, but a catastrophic waste of resources, diverting strength from legitimate threats. He turned back to the image of Captain Rostova. Captain, your claims are extraordinary. Extraordinary claims require extraordinary proof. What precisely does? Our ship is enough entail in a conflict scenario. Captain Rostova paused, a subtle, almost imperceptible shift in her posture that the human data logs categorized as a preparatory stance. Hegemon Prime, it means precisely what it states. Our vessels are designed not for brute force, but for resilience, adaptability, and the capacity to negate any offensive threat. We do not engage in wars of attrition. We seek to render any incoming weapon system inert, any offensive strategy obsolete, any aggressive intent ineffective. We are not simply defending, we are disarming the very concept of conflict against us. We have learned, through millennia of our own internal struggles, that the most potent weapon is not the one that destroys, but the one that prevents destruction. Our technology reflects this philosophy. A tremor, more pronounced this time, swept through the Zylosian delegates. The idea of rendering weapons inert, of disarming conflict itself, was a revolutionary concept, one that challenged the fundamental principles of strategic warfare. The hegemony's military doctrine was built upon the deployment of increasingly destructive weaponry, impenetrable shields, and overwhelming numbers. To hear a species claim to have moved beyond that paradigm, and to demonstrate it with such an audacious act of insertion, was deeply unsettling. Commander Vorel, his rigid form now trembling with a mixture of anger and dawning apprehension, projected a new holographic overlay. We have been monitoring the Endurance's energy signature since its arrival. It remains constant, minimal. No significant power fluctuations that would indicate the activation of advanced defensive countermeasures or offensive systems. They are either bluffing with unprecedented conviction, or their systems are so efficient they leave no detectable trace. This is not logical. Logic, Commander, Captain Rostova interjected, her voice still calm, is often limited by the parameters of one's current understanding. We offer you an opportunity to expand your understanding. We propose a demonstration not of destruction but of resilience. Send against us whatever you deem your most potent, your most advanced weapon. A single, controlled engagement. We will not return fire. We will simply endure. And then, Hegemon Prime, you will see the truth of our claim, that in war, no matter what weapon, our ship is enough. The proposal hung in the emerald-lit chamber like a cosmic gauntlet thrown across the void. A single, controlled test. A challenge to the very foundation of the hegemony's military might. To refuse would be to admit fear, to concede to the human's audacity. To accept, however, was to risk humiliation, or worse, to reveal the hegemony's own vulnerabilities. The sheer confidence in her voice, the utter lack of bravado, was what truly disturbed them. It was not a dare. It was a matter-of-fact invitation to witness a truth they refused to accept. Hegemon Prime Xyler 7 mind raced through countless simulations, probabilities, and historical precedents. No species in the hegemony's recorded history had ever issued such a challenge. To invite attack unarmed was an act of madness or a display of ultimate power. He turned to Prognosticator Guild Master Cathar. Prognostications, Master. What are the probabilities of this being a deception? A trap? A feint to lure us into an ambush? Cathar's neural tendrils pulsed furiously. The data remains contradictory, Hegemon Prime. The human psychological profile suggests a propensity for high-stakes gambits, yet their current energy signatures indicate no hidden weapon systems, no cloaked support vessels. If it is a trap, it is one of unprecedented subtlety. The probability of deception is high, but the probability of genuine, unforeseen technological superiority is equally unsettlingly high. Our models collapse when confronted with such variables. Very well, Hegemon Prime Xyler 7 finally declared, his voice resonating with a renewed, grim determination. The gamble was too profound, the implications too significant to ignore. Captain Rostova, your terms are accepted. A single demonstration. Your vessel, the Endurance, will withstand one strike from our most potent non-planet-destroying weapon. You will remain within your current position. You will not retaliate. Your shields, if active, will be measured. Our weapon systems will be calibrated to ensure no collateral damage to the surrounding stellar environment. The demonstration will occur in exactly one cycle. Do you agree to these terms? We agree, Captain Rostova affirmed, her face still utterly calm. We look forward to demonstrating our capacity for peaceful, uncontained existence. Her image then flickered and dissolved, leaving only the stark silhouette of the Endurance on the central display. A silent, obsidian monument to human audacity or human truth. The atmosphere in the grand convocation chamber remained heavy, thick with apprehension. The Hegemon Prime had committed them to a public test of wills and technology, an unprecedented gamble in the long history of the Zylosian hegemony. Commander Vorel was already issuing orders, selecting the weapon system, preparing the firing platforms. The delegates, their individual forms radiating a potent blend of anxiety and bewildered fascination, began to disperse, their conversations a low, guttural murmur of speculation. The image of the Endurance, small, solitary, yet radiating an almost palpable aura of defiant calm, remained etched in the Hegemon Prime's mind. What kind of species, he wondered, would present such a challenge? What kind of technology could justify such a claim? And what would happen if, against all logic, their ship truly was enough? The very question threatened to unravel the carefully constructed order of the entire Zylosian hegemony. The cycle that followed was one of agonizing tension within the hegemony. Preparations for the demonstration were meticulously overseen by Hegemon Prime Xyler 7 himself, every detail scrutinized, every parameter checked and rechecked. The weapon chosen was the graviton flux cannon, a devastating energy projector typically mounted on the largest hegemony dreadnoughts, capable of fracturing planetary crusts and neutralizing smaller fleets with a sustained barrage. For the demonstration, it would be fired from a heavily shielded orbital platform, calibrated for a single, focused burst that would vaporize any known hull plating and overwhelm any conventional shield array. The target, the solitary human vessel, the Endurance, still hovering silently at the jump point. The grand convocation chamber was once again filled, this time with an even greater sense of anticipation and dread. Representatives from every major hegemony world and vassal state were present, their sensory organs focused on the central holographic display, which now showed three distinct projections: the graviton flux cannon platform, an array of sensor readings, and the unmoving silhouette of the Endurance. The silence was profound, broken only by the almost frantic whirring of Prognosticator Guild Master Cathar's data processing tendrils and the heavy, rhythmic thrum of Commander Vorel's prepared stance. Hegemon Prime Xyler 7 stood on the dais, his voice steady despite the immense pressure. All preparations are complete. The graviton flux cannon is charged to 50% of its maximum yield, a force sufficient to obliterate any known vessel of the Endurance's classification. All sensor arrays are locked on target, prepared to record every energy fluctuation, every hull deformation, every shield collapse. We will observe the human vessel's resilience, as per their audacious challenge. Captain Rostova, do you confirm your vessel's readiness? The image of Captain Rostova shimmered into existence beside the Endurance projection, her face as impassive as stone, her eyes reflecting the cold, distant stars. Hegemon Prime, the Endurance is ready. We will endure. Your weapon's yield is well within our projected tolerance. Proceed with your demonstration. Her voice was devoid of emotion, a stark, almost unsettling declaration of absolute confidence. Commander Vorel let out a low, guttural growl of frustration. Tolerance? They speak of tolerance as if our most potent weapon is a mere meteorological phenomenon. This hubris is intolerable. Silence, Commander, Hegemon Prime Xyler 7 commanded, his voice sharp. We will adhere to the terms, initiate the firing sequence. Prognosticator Guild Master, record all data with maximum fidelity. The vast chamber held its collective breath. On the central display, the graviton flux cannon platform flared with an intense, blinding light as energy began to accumulate within its primary emitter. The sensor readings next to it spiked dramatically, displaying colossal power fluctuations. The Endurance remained motionless, a tiny, dark speck against the backdrop of the void, seemingly oblivious to the cataclysmic energy building against it. A deep, resonant thrum shook the chamber as the graviton flux cannon unleashed its terrifying payload. A beam of pure, incandescent emerald energy, thick as a star lance, shot across the void, arcing directly towards the human vessel. It was a sight of terrifying beauty, a testament to the hegemony's destructive power, capable of tearing through the very fabric of spacetime. The delegates braced themselves for the inevitable explosion, He flash of pulverized metal, the chaotic dispersal of plasma and debris. But no explosion came. As the emerald beam enveloped the Endurance, something utterly unexpected, something profoundly, viscerally unsettling occurred. The beam, instead of impacting and detonating, seemed to dissipate. It did not shatter the hull, it did not ignite the shields. Instead, the incandescent energy of the graviton flux cannon, the concentrated destructive force of a civilization, simply flowed around the human vessel, swirling like water around a smooth, impenetrable stone. The sensor readings, instead of spiking with impact and shield overload, registered a bewildering phenomenon. A localized energy sink, absorbing the beam's colossal power without registering any commensurate increase in the Endurance's internal energy signature or temperature. The hull, that impossible obsidian black, remained utterly pristine, untouched, reflecting the emerald light like a still, dark pool. The grand convocation chamber was plunged into a silence more profound than any before, a silence born of disbelief, of utter incomprehension. Commander Voral's rigid form sagged, his weapon appendages dropping slowly, his voice a disbelieving whisper. Impossible, the graviton flux, it was absorbed, without trace. What sorcery is this? Prognosticator Guild Master Cathar's tendrils were now a blur, vibrating with such intensity that shimmering ripples of distorted light emanated from his form. The data, it defies all known physics. The energy was not reflected, not deflected, not even absorbed and converted. It simply ceased to exist as kinetic or thermal energy upon contact with the hull. Our sensors indicate a momentary phase shift in localized spacetime, a temporal displacement field surrounding the vessel, but it is not generating a shield. It is canceling the very act of interaction. Hegemon Prime Xyler 7 primary ocular cluster was fixed on the holographic display, his entire being processing the impossible reality unfolding before him. The human vessel had not merely endured, it had rendered their most potent weapon utterly irrelevant. It had not blocked the attack, it had unmade the attack. Captain Rostova's calm voice once again filled the chamber, imbued now with a quiet, undeniable triumph. Hegemon Prime, as promised, our ship is enough. We do not destroy the incoming weapon, we dissolve its capacity for harm. Our hull is not merely a barrier, it is an active negation field designed to harmonize with and dissipate any external kinetic or energetic imposition. We call it Aegis resonance plating. It allows our vessels to remain utterly resilient, not through brute force, but through a deeper understanding of universal constants and interdimensional harmonics. The philosophical implications of her explanation were as staggering as the technological demonstration. They were not fighting a vessel, they were fighting a philosophy, an advanced understanding of reality itself. The hegemony's entire military doctrine, built on the principle of projecting and receiving force, had just been rendered obsolete by a single, serene human ship. Commander Voral finally found his voice, a raw, guttural sound of utter defeat. But how? How can such technology exist? It defies every principle of energy conservation, every law of physics we have meticulously catalogued across countless millennia. Commander, Captain Rostova replied, her voice still calm, the universe is vast, and its laws are far more nuanced than any single species, however ancient, can fully comprehend. We have simply learned to access certain fundamental frequencies, certain resonant patterns that allow for the localized nullification of harmful energy. It is not magic, but science. A science that requires a different approach, a different understanding of existence itself. We do not seek to dominate reality, we seek to harmonize with it. The phrase, harmonize with it, resonated deeply within the Ethelian ambassador, whose luminous form now pulsed with a mixture of awe and profound understanding. They had always preached a philosophy of interconnectedness, of understanding the subtle energies of the cosmos, but humanity had apparently taken that philosophy and translated it into tangible, strategic reality. Hegemon Prime Xyler 7 took a long, deliberate moment to process the full weight of what he had witnessed, what he had heard. The strategic landscape of the galaxy had just irrevocably shifted. The Sol Collective, the enigmatic, unpredictable humans, were not merely technologically advanced, they were operating on an entirely different conceptual plane. Their claim was not hubris, it was an understated truth. Captain Rostova, the Hegemon Prime finally spoke, his voice imbued with a newfound gravitas, a deep respect that transcended fear. Your demonstration is conclusive. Your claims are unequivocally validated. The Zalosian hegemony acknowledges the unparalleled resilience of your vessel. Your containment, as we understood it, is indeed rendered non-viable. We regret our initial misinterpretations, our attempts to categorize your species through our own limited paradigms. Misinterpretations are a natural consequence of first contact, Hegemon Prime, Captain Rostova replied, a faint, almost imperceptible warmth entering her voice. We understand your caution. Our history is replete with similar misunderstandings. The purpose of this demonstration was not to humiliate, but to accelerate mutual understanding. To bypass the inevitable cycle of suspicion and escalation, we offer you not a challenge, but a new paradigm. A future where force is no longer the ultimate arbiter, where resilience and harmony supersede destructive power. The words hung in the air, a profound offer, a vision of a transformed galaxy. The delegates, once gripped by fear and suspicion, now stared at the image of the Endurance with a mixture of awe and dawning hope. A species that could negate conflict rather than merely win it. A civilization that prioritized harmony over destruction. This was not merely a military revelation, it was a philosophical revolution. Captain Rostova, Hegemon Prime Xyler 7 continued, his voice now reflecting a deep internal shift. The Zalosian hegemony wishes to formally rescind all containment protocols. We wish to open full diplomatic channels. We seek not merely peace, but understanding. We wish to learn from your unique understanding of the universe. What is your proposal for future relations? Captain Rostova's face remained composed, but a subtle, knowing glimmer in her eyes suggested a profound satisfaction. Our proposal, Hegemon Prime, is simple. Open borders, free exchange of knowledge, and mutual defense against any true existential threat. We believe that true strength lies not in the capacity to destroy, but in the capacity to protect, to create, to connect. We believe in unity, not through assimilation, but through shared purpose. We are not a threat to your hegemony, but a potential partner in the grand, unfolding tapestry of the cosmos. We offer our resilience, not as a shield for ourselves alone, but as a foundation upon which a new era of interstellar cooperation can be built. The offer was generous, almost overwhelmingly so, given the hegemony's initial hostile intentions. It was an olive branch woven from a fabric of undeniable power and philosophical depth. The delegates, who had once debated humanity with fear and confusion, now saw a path forward, a vision of a galaxy fundamentally changed by this unexpected encounter. The Endurance, that solitary vessel, had not merely survived a weapon. It had disarmed an entire paradigm of conflict. It had proven that indeed, against any weapon, their ship, infused with a philosophy of harmonious resilience, was truly enough. As the formal diplomatic channels were established, and the Zalosian hegemony began the arduous process of re-evaluating millennia of strategic doctrine, the Endurance remained a quiet sentinel at the now-open jump point. Captain Rostova and her crew began to share, cautiously at first, then with increasing openness, the foundational principles behind their Aegis resonance plating and the localized space-time manipulation drive. The Zalosian scientists, at first bewildered, then slowly awestruck, grappled with concepts that pushed the very boundaries of their understanding. They learned that the human Aegis was not a simple shield, but a finely tuned interaction matrix, a field that resonated with the incoming energy at a quantum level, guiding it into a temporary, localized pocket of subspace where it harmlessly dissipated. It was a technology born not of brute force, but of a profound, almost spiritual understanding of the universe's interconnectedness. The cultural exchange that followed was unprecedented in the hegemony's history. Human emissaries, often surprisingly young and seemingly unassuming, arrived on Zalosian core worlds, engaging with scholars, engineers, and even military leaders. They spoke not of conquest, but of shared exploration, not of dominance, but of mutual growth. Their philosophy, once dismissed as illogical emotional variability, was revealed to be a complex, deeply ethical framework, prioritizing life, learning, and the pursuit of harmonious existence above all else. They demonstrated that their historical internal conflicts, while violent, had been catalysts for profound introspection and accelerated evolution, leading them to the very technologies they now possessed. Their resilience was not merely a psychological trait. It was a societal commitment to overcoming adversity through innovation and a relentless pursuit of deeper understanding. The relationship between the hegemony and the Sol collective blossomed, not without its challenges, but with a foundational respect born of that initial, audacious demonstration. The Endurance became a symbol, a beacon of a new era. Zalosian engineers, once proud of their monolithic dreadnoughts, now worked alongside human counterparts, redesigning their own vessels, seeking to integrate elements of Aegis resonance plating and space-time displacement drives. The concept of our ship is enough began to permeate the hegemony's military philosophy, not as a rejection of strength, but as a redefinition of what true strength entailed. Centuries passed. The Sol collective and the Zalosian hegemony formed an unprecedented alliance, their combined knowledge and resources fostering an era of peace and technological advancement previously unimaginable. Humanity, once an enigma, was now a respected, even revered partner. Their calm logic, their profound ethical frameworks, their unwavering belief in the potential of life had reshaped the galactic landscape. No longer were they underestimated, they were celebrated. Then the whisper came, a faint, almost imperceptible ripple across the fabric of subspace, far beyond the known borders of the Hegemony-Sol alliance. It was not a message, not a signal in any conventional sense, but a distortion, a harmonic anomaly that defied all known physics, far stranger than even the Endurance's initial arrival. The combined prognosticator guilds, human and Zalosian, worked tirelessly, their collective intellect striving to decipher the elusive data. The source of the anomaly was traced to a region of deep, uncharted void, a cosmic graveyard where ancient stars had long since imploded, leaving behind only the ghosts of their former glory. It was an area considered devoid of all life, a barren expanse of nothingness. Yet from this emptiness the whisper grew. Hegemon Prime Xyler 7, now a venerable elder of his species, stood once again in the grand convocation chamber, though its spires now shimmered with integrated human-like crystal technology, and its graviton thrones bore the forms of both Zalosian delegates and human representatives. Commander Valerius, a human of calm demeanor and immense strategic insight, stood beside him. "The anomaly has intensified," Valerius reported, his voice grave. "It is not a natural phenomenon. Our combined analysis suggests an artificial origin. A structure impossibly vast is coalescing within the dead zone. Its energy signatures are primordial, unfathomable. It is unlike anything we have ever encountered, even in the most ancient of our recorded myths." A new holographic projection flared to life, replacing the image of the Endurance. This one was a chaotic vortex of raw energy, a swirling maelstrom of unknown forces, slowly resolving into a colossal, geometric form that dwarfed even the largest Hegemony-Sol megastructures. It was a perfect octahedron, thousands of light-years across, its surface radiating an ancient, malevolent power that resonated deep within the genetic memory of every sentient being in the chamber. It was clearly artificial, yet utterly alien, seemingly constructed by a civilization that operated on a scale beyond comprehension, wielding technologies that transcended even the human understanding of space-time. The Whisper, Prognosticator Guild Master Cathar, his form now integrated with advanced human neural interfaces, elucidated, his voice a series of complex, synthesized harmonics, is not a message, it is a resonance. A harmonic frequency that slowly, inexorably destabilizes all known forms of matter. A fundamental decay. This structure, it is a cosmic-scale weapon, a harvester of existence itself. It consumes not planets, not stars, but the very coherence of reality. A profound dread, deeper and more chilling than any fear they had felt for humanity, settled over the chamber. This was not a conflict to be won by superior firepower or even by Aegis resonance plating. This was a threat to existence itself, a fundamental challenge to the continuity of the universe. Commander Valerius stepped forward, his eyes fixed on the terrifying projection. Our combined fleets, even with Aegis technology, would be irrelevant against such a force. It is not designed to destroy, it is designed to unmake. Our weapons would likely fuel its destructive resonance. Our shields would simply accelerate their own disintegration. Hegemon Prime Xyler 7 turned to Valerius, his ocular clusters reflecting the terrifying image. "Then what hope do we have, Commander? If our combined might is insufficient, if even the philosophy of resilience is rendered moot by a force that negates existence itself, then what remains?" Valerius met his gaze, and for the first time a flicker of something beyond calm settled in his eyes, a profound, almost spiritual determination. "What remains, Hegemon Prime, is precisely what humanity has always relied upon. Not the biggest weapon, not the strongest shield, but the most fundamental truth: our ship is enough. Not a single vessel this time, but the collective ship of our ingenuity, our adaptability. Our unwavering will to protect what we cherish. We may not defeat this entity through force, but we will find a way to circumvent its purpose, to sever its connection to the fabric of reality. We will adapt. We will invent. We will learn to harmonize with a different set of universal constants, to find a frequency that disrupts its resonance of decay. We will turn its purpose back upon itself, not by force, but by profound, audacious understanding." The words hung in the air, a testament to the core of humanity's being. It was not about a single vessel, but about the spirit of innovation, the relentless pursuit of solutions. the unyielding belief in their capacity to overcome the impossible. The ship, it was not merely a physical construct, it was the essence of humanity itself. The philosophical reflections of the Ethelian ambassador, once steeped in contemplation of individual species, now embraced the unified front of the alliance. They speak of harmonizing with reality, of disrupting resonance. This is not a military strategy, Hegemon Prime, but a spiritual one, translated into technological imperative. Humanity has always understood that true power lies not in controlling external forces, but in understanding and manipulating the underlying principles of existence. The chamber, once filled with fear, now hummed with a different kind of energy, a renewed sense of purpose, a shared, daunting challenge. The ultimate twist was not an external enemy to be conquered by overwhelming force, but a cosmic threat that demanded a new form of warfare, a new understanding of existence. And in that moment, the Zalosian hegemony, once so fearful of humanity's unpredictability, now embraced it as their greatest asset. For they realized that against a foe that consumed reality itself, only a species capable of redefining reality, of finding strength in unexpected places, could possibly stand a chance. The journey had begun with a single ship, proving its worth against a formidable weapon. Now the collective ship of the Alliance, guided by humanity's relentless spirit, would face the ultimate test, proving that indeed, no matter the weapon, no matter the threat, their combined ingenuity, their shared will, their unified ship would be enough. The future, once a carefully planned trajectory, now stretched before them as an unbounded frontier of cosmic possibility, fraught with peril, but alight with the unwavering spark of human resilience and the boundless potential of a united galaxy.